All right there. Hi, this is Roger Connect, President of Universal Accounting Center. I'm excited to have John Briggs today to share with us his experiences as he's been working with clients as an accountant. And one of the things I'm excited to share is that as a practicing accountant, he's been doing this with his own firm since 2007. His business is called InciteTax. And I've known John for a little while. I met him recently at the Profit Con conference, and it was an amazing experience where he received an award. We're going to bring that up later. But John, welcome to today's discussion and webinar.
Thanks, Roger. Happy to be here.
Good. Now, obviously, one of the things that I'm hoping to share here is a little bit of your background as to how you got involved in accounting and kind of what excited you about the numbers and the opportunities that exist just within the accounting profession itself.
You know, there was a point in my college career. I first started thinking I was going to want to play video games my whole life. And so I took some computer science classes, and I realized after a full year that not one of the assignments was to play video games. In fact, it was all like math related and really complicated. So I felt like I needed to switch, and business is something that kind of interested me. My dad had a side business growing up, and I took Accounting 101 at BYU, and it was the first time any subject like just clicked. It's like the first time it's just like, this makes perfect sense to me. And so from there, I took the filter class, if you will, for the accounting program, and I enjoyed it, which means I should have applied. So I applied, and I don't know, it's just, I picked accounting primarily because it's the only subject that makes the most sense to me.
Very good. Now, I hope you haven't given up on the gaming aspect of things.
No, I haven't given up completely. I have a young son, so we do spend some father-son time bonding for sure.
I love it. One of the things I've learned as a father is if I can find some way to justify my indulgences through my children, it's a good day. So that's a good.
That's right. I'm trying to get them interested in golf as well.
Well, good luck. It's cold outside, so maybe if the snow doesn't come, you can get them out. So here's where I'd like to go with the accounting. You're at BYU. You declared as a major. You go through the training. What did you experience when you first went out into the accounting world and were doing employment and work and such?
Well, I mean, we're pretty spoiled at BYU. It's been in the top 3 accounting programs for at least 2 decades. And so your second week as a junior, it's like recruiting week. And so they bring in all these big 4 accounting firms and top like Forbes 100 companies. So, I mean, I feel like we really are spoiled in the fact of the way my experience might be a little bit different than someone who went to a different school. But so you kind of just pick who you're going to intern with, which eventually might be your employer. And I went down that route, and I ended up at Deloitte in Orange County, California.
Okay.
Doing tax. And the reason I picked tax is because they told me, if you do tax, you get paid more because it's specialty. But if you don't like it, every firm trains you how to be an auditor, and so you can always default back to that anyways. But I really enjoyed tax, and so my experience with Deloitte was great. I mean, they're a big 4 accounting firm, so obviously they have a lot of clout in the industry. But it's interesting. I didn't necessarily enjoy the way they build. I don't know if you come across this a lot with other accountants, but we see this a lot with attorneys, where they bill by the hour, and most of the time it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Well, as an intern at Deloitte, I realized that I was going to get promoted. I was going to be given the job offer, all based on my billable hours, but I had zero control over my workflow. And so it just felt bad. So if I had one thing to do on my desk, well, I don't want to be penalized for being smarter than maybe some of the other interns. So you take your time. But if you have 5 or 6 things on your desk to do, you crank through it and you're pretty efficient. I didn't like the model because I could tell that the client is the one that's eating that inefficiency. And so that was my experience with the Big 4 kind of model. I didn't really fit my personality and what I felt was fair to both parties.
So what then led to your starting your own practice? It's 2007. What's going on at that time in your life that's going to cause you to now step out on your own and start working with clients?
Well, okay, so after I did my internship, I came back to BYU and I met my was going to be my wife. I met Kara, and through connections of her, I ended up taking a job as a controller right out of college for a door-to-door sales company, which is a crazy industry. Anyways, very, very brutal industry to be involved with. So I worked for a year and a half as a controller for this door-to-door sales company, but they ended up going bankrupt. And it was at that point, working for a company that was bankrupt that wasn't paying me any money, you know, your fear of starting your own business at that point pretty much goes away because you're already not getting paid for working.
Okay.
But so my need to put food on the table was really what started pushing me towards, I should open my own practice. I have a great degree. I have good experience, and I like it. So
this is interesting because there are a lot of people that start their own practices, and I find that, just to simplify it, there are two types of individuals. Some are driven by that entrepreneurial drive to have their own practice, to be a business owner. They want to make a difference. They feel they can actually offer something to their clients. Some do it out of necessity, and there are some times when the economy takes some downturns. Maybe they're not interviewing well, and it's out of necessity that they realize, you know what, maybe I ought to consider this. And sometimes, if there's a third scenario, there's that situation where the individual happens to have a great job and they have friends and family that solicit their services, and they start taking on clients on the weekends, weeknights. They get to 3, 4, 5 clients, and then at some point they realize, hey, darn, this is actually working out. I'm gonna quit this and go out and be my own. So it's always one of the three. But you were in that situation where almost out of necessity, you were driven to do this.
yeah, definitely out of necessity. And I would say being an entrepreneur and that desire and that skill set, it wasn't necessarily something I feel like I was born with. I've had to develop it, and I've hired coaches and mentors and people to help me work through that process. Yeah, it was definitely out of necessity. It was, oh crap, we're going to starve to death if I don't figure out how to bring money home. So, okay, I have this I could rely on. Let's go do that.
So if that's your background, what advice would you have for someone that's in a similar situation where they wouldn't necessarily see themselves as being this entrepreneur? They may be lacking in a little bit of that confidence because there may be a little bit of this unknown. They don't have maybe family members that are entrepreneurs. So, and what advice would you give them?
The first response I'd have is, a lot of times, a lot of people share this knowledge of like the best job security is to work for a really big company. And having worked for a company that did $30 million in revenue and then declared bankruptcy the same year, which is why I needed another job, I can tell you that I feel very jaded from that phrase that a lot of people use. And so what I learned, which I feel like is a much stronger truth, is being unemployed is the best job security you can have, because every day I wake up unemployed and I have to go out and find something to do. Like, I have to find my game to kill, if you will.
Yeah.
I'd rather, and now having that control in my life, I control it. I had zero control over the good, cushy job that ended up going downhill. I had zero control of the decisions that those people made that led the company into bankruptcy. But I have complete control over my own destiny by waking up every morning unemployed and making sure that I service my clients so that they keep coming back, so that I actually have something to do for people.
So that's a driver for you. That's a motivator for you.
Definitely.
Very good. Well, one of the things that I'd like to then do is let's talk about, it's now years later, you have clients and you're in a position where you're providing a very valued service to them. What kind of opportunities has this presented to you where you are now working with business owners, you're helping them with their clients, or excuse me, with their companies? What has that brought to you as an individual? What satisfaction has that brought?
Oh man. There's There's nothing that gives me more pleasure than knowing the clients that we're servicing are keeping money in their pocket, whether that's through tax strategy or profit first consulting, helping them manage their cash flow. The economy of the United States is built on the back of small business owners, and too often all the news talks about is the Fortune 100 companies. Well, guess what? 90% of what's going on in the economy is the small business owner. So to know that I have a part in helping America be profitable and the great country that we are, enjoying the freedoms that we have, and allowing the business owners to have their own individual freedoms as the owner, I just don't feel like there's any substitute for that pleasure.
So this is something that's very important. You brought up obviously the tax side, doing the tax planning, and that's obviously before the tax preparation. So I'm assuming with your clients, you're doing a lot of strategic type things throughout the year, meeting with them to understand how to use the tax code in their benefit.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. The truth is, look, you could probably train a monkey to look at numbers and plug them into a tax software. There's no value in that. The real value comes in the strategy part. And so we feel like we have to meet with our clients and have that consulting aspect, or we don't get satisfaction from creating value for them. So it's a very big focus for us.
Well, you're definitely engaged with the client. Too many times I'm working with tax professionals where they feel that it's a once a year kind of experience. It's a one and done. And in some of their clients' minds, they think they're getting accounting, and that's obviously not true. So I love what you're doing as a service, because at Universal Accounting Center, we strive to instill within the tax profession this point of being a profit and growth expert, and that's engaging clients. But you also brought up profit first. And this is fascinating because the accounting profession has changed in the recent years to where today it's much more consultative. And many accountants struggle to understand how to best have that relationship with their clients where they're helping them. And profit first, and it's in the name itself, helps you actually work with your clients to focus on the one thing that's so essential to the success of the business, which is the profit. So tell us about how you got introduced to profit first.
Profit first. I hired a company to help me with some of my systems and procedures for the business, to kind of like a documentation training thing.
Okay.
And she just finished reading the book Pumpkin Plan, which is written by the same author.
Yeah, Mike.
So Mike Michalowicz wrote the Pumpkin Plan, and I, read it on Audible. So, which I loved it. And then of course I'm like, well, this is great. Like, what other books does this guy have? And so I found that Profit First was the most recent thing that he wrote, and I listened to it, and I think like most business owners do, I had that epiphany within the first 2 chapters. Like, oh my gosh, this is literally addressing 99% of the problems that all my clients have. So I'm like, I need to look into this. I mean, I listened and read it. I listened to it like 3 times. I bought the book. I highlighted it. I marked it up. I have footnotes and everything. And as I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, I need to be a profit first professional. And it just so happened I was introduced to somebody else during that same time, and we started talking about it. And she said, "Oh, Mike Michalowicz, I have his email address. Do you want an introduction?" I'm like, "Yeah." I thought I was so special. I emailed Mike, and he responded back. And then from there, I spoke to Ron, who's the co-founder of Profit First Professionals. Little did I realize Mike is so open and willing to everybody that, it's like anybody can email him if they really want it, or just go to the website and you'll still eventually talk to him. But anyways, that's how I got involved. The system made sense to me. I think it as something that was going to solve the majority of the pains that my clients were facing. I'm like, I knew that I needed to get involved and learn more about it.
So let me just ask you a few questions about that then. First of all, from a marketing point of view, going out and in your market, trying to explain what services you offer business owners, what did Profit First then allow you to add to your marketing package? What's the new message that you're bringing to the client?
Yeah, it's a definite differentiator. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of times small business owners or small accounting firm owners, they don't want to think about this, but if you go up to someone and say, what do you do? I'm an accountant. Automatically, their eyes glaze over. You've lost that person's interest. Accountant, bookkeeper, even the word coach, those are all phrases that are they're so blah today. By being able to even just say, oh, I'm a certified profit first professional. Well, you didn't say accountant, bookkeeper, or coach, so all of a sudden they're like, what? So it's able to start a dialogue, and then you can say, yeah, I mean, anyone can do your accounting, but we help you manage your cash flow. And as the certification says, we help you figure out how to take your profit first, not as an afterthought. And so as a strong differentiator, it really lets us get in the door a lot easier, I feel like.
Okay, so that is powerful in and of itself. That as a differentiator, I think does help you stand out. But what I also now want to address is you're a profit first professional, you're certified, you have a system now that you're using with your clients and you're interacting with them in a way that they never could have expected. You're following a system with profit first that actually is more than words. It's not just talking cheap and saying, I put your profit first. There's a system, there's a method to all this. As you've worked with your clients to implement that with them, what have you achieved? What kind of experience have you had as you've actually engaged your clients this way?
Well, I can share an example because I just created this thing. And in my presentation, I shared side by side two owners that I know. Our niche when it comes to profit first is CrossFit gym owners.
Huh?
And so we have a CrossFit client. They have a box, that's what they call it. They have a gym out in El Paso, Texas. And his revenue is about 500,000. Well, having helped him implement profit first, his profitability is 100,000 of net income, which is pretty good for a CrossFit owner. There's another CrossFit owner that has 4 locations out on the East Coast, and their gross revenue is $1 million. And their net income is also $100,000. But they haven't implemented profit first yet. And so that's just literally one example of a client we have. They're more profitable. The system itself, it's so easy for them to follow because too many times as accountants, we want to push the way we do things onto our clients. And guess what? They're not accountants. They didn't start their business to do the numbers. And so asking them to approach their numbers the way we approach them isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Profit first follows human tendencies. So the system's related around that. And so it's just a lot easier for them to grasp. It's a lot easier for them to stick with it. And then once they do, their profitability increases because by following the system, it forces them like automatically every time they do the system, like twice a month when they're sitting down and doing what they're supposed to, they're recognizing expenses they don't need. They're recognizing, their cash flow and their trends, and they're able to make better business decisions. Without that system, that doesn't happen. They don't have that realization. They're just doing what their accountant asked them to do. And then at the end of the day, a lot of times they still don't understand it. And they'll have that moment where like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm firing my accountant. They're blaming the accountant for their lack of desire on understanding their numbers. But at the end of the day, yeah.
No, it's beautiful because I think what Profit First does is exactly how you shared it. It allows the business owner to understand what's going on with all these numbers in their business in a way that they can now relate and now use. So I think with the vocabulary of an accountant and with the financial reports that we want to deliver and give as proof of our work, they're not getting what they need to make the educated business decisions that they have to make as the owner. And where Profit First puts the priority on, at the end of the day, are we crossing our fingers and hoping we made money, or have we made it into a priority? And that's what Profit First does. So love what you shared there. So this brings me to the next question. It's helped you as a differentiator in your marketing. It's helped you with your clients, working with them to ensure more of their success and happiness in their own businesses. At the end of the day, how has it contributed to your own bottom line? How has your firm grown, or how has it improved with this being an additional service that you offer?
Well, there's two sides to that answer, because one, as a profit first professional, I use profit first in my own business. And so one of the things that I love about profit first is I don't have to worry about having money for taxes, because the system makes it so that I'm setting aside that money so that it doesn't feel like a burden. And so when it gets to the end of the year, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I owe that much money. That's, that most business owners get that. They're like, how do I owe this much money? Where'd that money go? Like, yeah, you spent it probably. I don't have that. It's like, wow, that's a lot. I checked my tax account, which Profit First helped me set up. Oh, look, I already have the money there. In fact, there's a little bit left over. So on that side, using Profit First for my own business has helped us be more profitable. I've identified, the first time I did it, I identified $80,000 of expenses that were doing me no good. $80,000. So that was awesome to free up that cash because it wasn't doing anything to my bottom line. And that's just following their system. And then on the other side, offering it to the clients, having it as a differentiator. We can charge more for our consulting because we have a designation. And that designation allows us to, command more because we're providing more value to our clients. And so we get more out of our consulting fees. And then from an ongoing standpoint, it's just nice, good recurring revenue because everybody needs tweaks to their system. We're growing, and I know it's partly because we have Profit First as a consulting option.
Perfect. So at the very beginning, you were speaking of Deloitte Touche and their billing process. And you alluded to this, and I'd like to just get you to share a little bit more about it. I'm assuming that you were talking now about value-based pricing. So in the accounting profession, just for everyone's information, there typically are a few traditional ways of billing. There is hourly, there's flat rate, there's transactional, and then there's value-based. And don't want to belabor the different types, but value-based pricing is what I think you're alluding to. What could you share about how that's been something you've embraced within your firm and what you're using to actually work with your clients?
So first, I don't want to belabor it either, but a lot of people don't realize the hourly rate, which is the concept that these law firms bill by and traditional accounting firms do. Mm-hmm. Karl Marx was the one who created the concept of the hourly rate. And I just don't believe in socialism. So I just don't know why we use it so much in our society. But that being said, value-based pricing, I think any professional who thinks their client is paying them for their time is delusional. Our clients want a result from us, and that's what we're offering. Whether that result that they're asking for takes me 1 hour or 10 hours or 100 hours or 10 minutes, it's the same result to the client, and that result has value to them. So by being able to by charging value-based pricing to our clients, from an ownership standpoint, our rate of return on our time is skyrocket. I mean, there's times during tax season we're making $2,000 an hour because we're providing a result to the client, and they know what that value price is, and whether that takes me 15 minutes or again the hour, it's the same result to them, and so they don't care. Because that's how you have to present it to them. Look, if you want my time, that's great, but you want the result more, right? I mean, earlier in my career, I sat down with a client once and I whipped through their tax return because we do thousands and thousands a year. And she's like, hold on, you're done with my tax return? It's only been like 12 minutes. Yeah, I mean, here you go. Well, for what I'm paying you, I'm going to sit here for the whole hour. Like, what? Okay. So we just, talked about nothing for an hour, which didn't increase value in her life. It's like, I don't understand that mindset. And if anyone has that mindset, especially as a small accountant as an accounting firm owner, you got to get over that. Clients want a result. That's what you should charge for.
Well, I'm going to use that as a nice segue into a point that I think needs to be made. The accounting profession, just because technology is out there, the software programs that are now in place, the artificial intelligence now manifesting itself in the various programs, all of these things have really commoditized more and more the transactional side of the business. And so what the accounting profession is needed to do, pivot on the point that what's really needed is information that a business owner can have in real time, not historical data. It's not financials from what we did last month, last quarter. It's real time, what's happening today to make more intelligent business decisions. Well, that's value that you're providing. And the more that they can, as accountants, transition away from just the traditional accounting function of reporting transactions and get into more of the work you're doing, which is strategic advice, it's consultative, it's profit-first strategies. These things are what the client needs in today's world to be relevant as a business and successful. So this is, I think, a perfect time for me to ask, what kind of changes are you seeing in the profession that, as an accountant, are important to you or pressing on you as a business owner of your own firm?
You know, from my understanding, there's the technology that exists already that can basically put the whole data entry, bookkeeping task aside. Like, they can take it away from humans. The AI exists where a computer can effectively populate someone's QuickBooks for them. Now, so that's a big change. I don't think a lot of maybe accountants realize that if you're not careful, the commoditized part of what we do, it is going to be outsourced by computers. And so if you want to stay in business, you have to add the consultant, the advisory side on. And on top of that too, I think a lot of times we make the mistake as accountants when clients come to us and say, well, how do my books look? A lot of times we respond with, oh, they reconciled real nice. They balanced. It's good. Your balance sheet's balanced, and you know your profit and loss statement, which most of them think is P and the letter N-L. You know, it's like, you know, they're not. Yeah, it looks good. Well, guess what? That answer didn't make any sense to them. They don't know what reconcile means. They don't care that their balance sheet balanced. They don't care what their P&L looks like. What they want to know is, am I profitable? Am I going to have money for my expenses coming up? Am I overspending on some things? I think that's where we will always have a job, because, well, I hope we'll always have a job. I don't know how sophisticated AI is going to get. So I think we need to take advantage of the AI and shed off those hours we're spending doing the data entry, let the technology do that for us, and then we provide the advisory services to the clients, because that's what they want from us anyways.
Well, I'm going to take what you just said and add my own 2 cents to it. I think what we're experiencing is equal to, if not even more profound than computers in accounting 20, 25 years ago, when it used to be journals and ledgers. You would actually be doing paper transactions. You would be transcribing data from ledgers, journals to create P&Ls, and it was a laborious task. It's almost like watching Charles Dickens, and you're seeing him sitting up there on the podium recording all these transactions and closing the book and putting it on the shelf. Those days were replaced by computers, allowing us as professionals to do what we do best, which is now actually have an accounting firm that can service many clients because we have the technology to do it. But we were recording manually those transactions. Well, just like you pointed out, the technology is getting to the point where those transactions are going to be recorded for us, they're going to be done for us intelligently. So if you went back 5 years ago, people were talking about offshoring or outsourcing the accounting process to India and Pakistan and Philippines. Well, that's not it. It's the AI today. So the point where I want to just compliment you is the profession's not going away. I jokingly say it's the second oldest profession. It's the second oldest profession because everyone always wants to keep track of their stuff. So for the business owner, what they're going to turn to the accounting professional to do is give advice as to which AI they should be using. Is it QuickBooks? QuickBooks? Is it Sage? Is it Xero? Is it FreshBooks? And what complementing apps they should be using? Is it T-Sheets? Is it Receipt Bank? Is it Bill.com? They're going to turn to the accountant and say, how do I use the technology so I can do what I do best, which is my business? And so they're going to turn to each of us and they're going to ask, what are we recommending they use to run the behind the scenes of their business? But then that AI will always have problems integrating one with another. There's going to be little nuances about it. So your profession, just at that technical level, is always going to exist. But where you have value, the reason why they're going to pay you is because they're going to be saying, I have to make a decision. You understand the information. Help me understand what I need to know so I can make an intelligent decision now about my company. And so you're going to become a strategic, trusted advisor, and they're always going to be looking to you because never will they ever want to know accounting the way they need to know to run their business. That's what you're doing. And so you're that interpreter. It's no different than, here's this very important document, this wealth of information in a book or in a paper, and it's in a language they don't understand. And they're turning to you and they're saying, look, I understand a little bit that I can maybe glean something from this, but could you translate this for me and give it to me in the most timely and efficient way so I can do what I do best, which is run my business? And that's what we do. And Profit First is a part of that. So I love what you were saying. That was wonderful. So here's my next thing. Last time we met, John, you and I were at ProfitCon. Tell everybody about ProfitCon. I enjoyed that experience. It was a wonderful conference.
So ProfitCon is an annual conference that Profit First professionals put together, and they bring in some great speakers. They try to have a theme each year, and so they bring in speakers around it, but all the topics help business owners, specifically accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches. It helps those three category of business owners really figure out different things in their business. So a lot of different things. I mean, he brought in there was a LinkedIn expert that came in. There was the other guy who talked about the difference between a mentor, an advisor, a coach, or a consultant. I thought that was a really powerful presentation. Yep. He brought in the organizational expert. I mean, it was awesome. So a lot of Profit First professionals go to it, but I know there's a lot of other people who maybe have heard about the organization. Profit First professionals haven't joined yet. They'll come to learn a little bit more. But I think it's 2 days for most people. I'm a mastery member, so we had an extra day added on to the beginning. But yeah, it's great.
Yes. Having gone, I must say that of the conferences I've attended, which have been many, that was perhaps the biggest surprise is the caliber of the presenters. It was almost like every person that spoke was a keynote speaker. It wasn't broke off into little sessions. It was keynote speaker after keynote speaker with powerful, appropriate, timely discussion. So that was great. The other thing I'd like to share is it is again going on in September of the coming year. And so I know I've spoken to Ron and he's eager to have more people attend. So that's something that I would suggest people put on their calendar and look more into participating in. But I don't want to end this too early without pointing out that you received something there. You are one of a very few people that was recognized on the stage and given an award. And I don't want to misrepresent this. So I'm gonna have you blush for a moment, and I want you to tell everyone what it was that what you received and what it was acknowledging.
Well, first, while the award had my name on it, it really is a team effort. In InciteTax, there's 10 of us. Primarily one guy named Ryan Vaughn. He's primarily responsible for me winning that award. But they gave me the Marketer of the Year award. It's given to the Profit First professional who they feel did the best, outstanding job of marketing Profit First.
Kudos
it's
to
something. What?
Kudos to you. I love how you've adopted it into your practice. It wasn't just some program that you looked into and tried. It was something that you embraced, you implemented, and you've really, I think, taken it to the level that it's needed to be, that it's intended to be.
Yeah, it's fun. It was fun. It certainly felt nice that they gave it to us. But I think a lot of accountants don't realize that marketing is an important component. And depending on your goals, what you have for your firm, maybe you can survive with your client referrals because you'll do a good job, and by default, you'll automatically get referrals. That happens. But based on what I'd like to do with InciteTax and how fast I want to grow, I knew that I needed to figure out how to pull in the leads instead of just passively waiting. And so really about 4 years ago, I started my journey of really trying to become a marketing expert, reading as much marketing things as I can, listening to marketing podcasts, trying things out. And I feel like we've done a really good job. And so I feel like one of the main reasons I was identified as the winner by Mike and Ron is because I gave 2 separate presentations to the mastery group about some really important basic concepts of marketing, but most accountants don't take the time to look at it. And so they were blown away by how valuable it was. But I mean, it's literally as simple as, this is how I keep track of my lead sources. These are the different things that I track. This is how many leads I have. This is how many people we actually spoke with. This is how many people we closed. This is what we closed them at. And so I had this spreadsheet put together, and I feel like that's one of the main reasons why they gave it to us.
I love it. So I'm going to just compliment you as well, but I'm going to point something out. Just as deliberate as you're being with your clients to help them put profit first, you're also just as deliberate as the owner of your company to put marketing first. And it's not like you were sharing that you can make and grow your business with referrals and have your clients refer you to other business owners. Truly, I believe in the idea of birds of a feather flock together, so owners know owners. But you were more purposeful in your growth. You were going to say, this is a priority. So what can I do to differentiate my firm and offer a service that's unique? And you chose profit first as being one of those differentiators. So kudos to you there. The next question I have for you, though, is tell me, with your interactions with the team there at Profit First, what would you like to say about them? I mean, they've got a wonderful team with Aaron and Ron and Mike. I mean, there's a group, Mike's there. So tell me just a little bit of what you think of Profit First as an organization helping you with your firm.
You know, it's we're coming up on almost 3 years with Profit First, and one of the best things I love about them is that they're a different company today than they were when I first met them. And I love that about them because they were good, but they asked for our feedback and then they change. They're like, oh yeah, that's great advice. Thanks. We are going to do that to improve. And so one of our core values at InciteTax is continuous improvement. And so anytime I see someone else who has that value, whether they explicitly say it or not, Profit First believes in continuous improvement, the Profit First professionals, and they just keep upping their game. They keep improving what you get for the membership fee. And they really do care about you as a profession. They want, because you're effectively an ambassador for what they offer. And so they're very invested in you becoming successful. And it's no joke. Like if you want, you could probably have a weekly phone call with them and they wouldn't bat an eye about it. It's like, okay, when you want to talk next, let's talk next week. Okay. And they give you action items, they can hold you accountable. Whatever level of interaction you want from them, they'll give it to you. And so I've really loved that about them. They're very genuine. You don't get that all the time nowadays.
Well said. And regarding the coaching, I agree. They're supportive. They give you action items. They want to see you succeed. They have as a mission the idea of eradicating entrepreneurial poverty. And you are, I think, one of the many ambassadors who have chosen to become certified as a Profit First professional to help move that mission forward, to help, and you said at the beginning, the backbone of our economy. It's so much the small business owner. So well said. What I'd like to do is just wrap this up. What closing thoughts might you have for anyone that's listening right now?
Closing thoughts. I think, first of all, closing thought one would be, if you've never heard of Profit First, you need to read the book, especially as an accountant. 2, if you've read the book, I don't have any idea why you've delayed becoming a Profit First professional. And then the last thought, just from a general ownership standpoint, I think a lot of mistakes I see people make is they don't necessarily have a plan and they don't know what they really want as far as what their business, what they want it to look like. And if you don't have a plan, it's just gonna, like the book, like Profit First talks about, it'll become this monster without a plan. Whether that's using Profit First to manage your cash or just in general, I think, so for example, And I'm all over the place on this, I apologize, but it's a closing thought. So I think a lot of times we have a hard time saying no. And my inability to say no is one of the reasons why my business continued to grow. And I got to the point where just by myself, the work suffers. You can only do so much good quality work in a 24-hour period. And if you don't have a plan in place, when you get to that point of, okay, I feel like I need to accept that my quality of work is suffering and I'm seeing a little bit more complaints from customers, you need a plan so that that doesn't happen. And sometimes the appropriate plan is to say, I like where my business is at, I like my lifestyle, I like the flexibility, and just stop taking on new clients. That's okay. I don't think people get permission enough to stop taking on new clients. And instead they force themselves into this scenario. It's like, oh, now I got to manage people, but I don't like doing that. And you know, anyways, I have a plan and live with it and like own it. Our firm is structured a little differently than a traditional firm. And so I have professionals in InciteTax who kind of manage their own book of clients. And I have to have that conversation with them 2 or 3 times a year. Like, are you happy with where your life's at? Do you like the flexibility? Do you like the hours you're working? Do you want to work more hours? Or, you know, and I've had to help a few of them realize, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm gonna pause taking new clients this year. Okay, great. Good job. Enjoy your life. Enjoy the flexibility. Because that's what being a business owner offers. Like, for me, family is really important. And my business allows me to have that flexibility because I had a plan and I set it up that way and I'm living it.
Well, I love your advice because it's very timely. We're coming into a new year, and I think there is that need to reflect, and it's very appropriate to review in your own mind the past year and the coming year and what your goals are. One of the things that we do here at Universal Accounting is help business owners actually gain that clarity and engage and manifest it. And so one of the things I agree with is just that clarity of what are you doing? Be in control, work on your business. Just as a closing thing, just to complement everything that was shared here, Universal Accounting, with this webinar, we're offering an ebook version of Profit First for free for those of you who want to reach out and receive that. John was mentioning that he had read the book, heard the book in audio 3 times before reading it as a physical book. Well, here's your chance. You can get a copy of the ebook and learn a little bit more of what Profit First really is and see what this mission is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do is see what you can do to better service your clients and become more relevant in your accounting firm. We at Universal Accounting Center talk about becoming an accountrepreneur. We also discuss the idea of creating the premier accounting service. And I would challenge you to actually see what you can do in your own practices to achieve that. So in order to take advantage of this opportunity, I'll actually give our phone number. It's 801-265-3777. And below in the description, you'll see some additional information of how you can actually take advantage getting this free version of the Profit First book. So with that, John, thank you for your time. Wonderful discussion. Excellent insights, and I appreciate everything that you shared. I commend you on the success you've had within your own business. Thank you for where you are, and I look forward to seeing you again. We're actually nearby, so I trust we'll run into one another again.
Thanks, Roger.
Take care. Bye-bye.